Hello there, everyone. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new. And we're so happy that some of you seem to enjoy our last video. It was something a little bit new for us, but hopefully it's going to be a recurring thing now. Tonight we have kind of an interesting topic that we'd like to discuss, something that has been on a lot of people's minds, especially creative types, over the year of 2020, and I'm sure it's still on their minds going into 2021, and that is the fact that a lot of artists have really been hard on themselves throughout 2020 because most people, unfortunately, became unemployed in 2020. It's just a sad fact. And as soon as I saw that people were becoming unemployed or they were going to have to start working from home, either of those, I saw an influx of creative people online saying, great, this is amazing. I've been wanting to, write that book or draw that sketch or paint that painting or whatever it is they want to do. And now I have no excuse not to do it because I'm home all the time. I have all the time in the world to work on it. Few months go by, maybe they started the project but they didn't get that far in, maybe they never started at all, maybe they got halfway through and never finished it, and they all came down on themselves so hard at the end of the year. They were like their own biggest disappointment because in their minds, being able to either work from home or being unemployed meant there was no excuse not to get a bunch of creative stuff done. But at the same time, we need to cut ourselves a little bit of a break here and there with this stuff because mental health was not at its best in 2020. And it certainly isn't right now at the start of 2021. So it's okay if you're not getting things done. It's okay if you got nothing done. If all you managed to do each day was get out of bed and make yourself a cup of coffee, you still did something each day in the year 2020. And even just waking up, getting out of bed, checking your phone, any of that is still something that you should be proud of because you managed to do it despite how bad you felt. That being said, if this new year you are still interested in trying to do maybe a little bit better, maybe you're feeling a little more optimistic, you're feeling a little bit better about, the fact that things are gonna be better, probably by 2022. Let's all, knock on wood and hope for that one. And you do want to actually buckle down on those projects, but you're having a hard time feeling creative since you're stuck in your own four walls day and night. That's where Kara comes in handy tonight because she's going to walk you through some really good tips that she's had because she and I, we've worked pretty consistently throughout the quarantine. We haven't really stopped for the most part. And I think that's because we have some tricks up our sleeve. And why don't you go ahead and share some of your tips for how to stay creative?
All right. Yeah, so basically my tips are just suggestions, maybe for people that manage the writer's block or artist block or whatever you want to call it. Like the very first suggestion would be just to sketch anything every day. It doesn't matter if it's a squiggle. It doesn't matter if it's like random dots, as long as you are doing something consistently. And because it's going to create a momentum for you.
Mm-hmm.
And having a momentum is good even when you have a writer's block or artist block.
Yeah, and if it's all right if I add to that thought a little bit, I know that hearing that maybe sounds easier said than done, like, oh, just, create something every day. Well, in terms of drawing anyway, since, we do a lot of drawn art, what I do is I like to either go on like Tumblr or DeviantArt or something and look up prompts that people are throwing out. People are always giving out writing prompts, song prompts, art prompts, prompts for just about anything that you can think of. That can be really helpful. If you're not really sure where to look for that, another good reference is looking at photographs of pose references for art, because let's face it, it's just a person in a swimsuit in a weird pose with a blank wall behind them. You can turn that into anything. Just kind of close your eyes, scroll through a bunch of photos of pose references, and just have your finger land on one and turn it into something.
Mm-hmm. Another one would be if you're working on a current project, let's say a comic book, and you're having troubles with a certain page, you might want to like step away from it and then do something that you also like doing, like fan art, because fan art's still in the realm of you creating things, and that is also going to help you with practicing still, even if you have to take a break from your story and what you're familiar with. At least you're still getting the anatomy down, like for body, and just anything like that will help you. And it can just be for your own benefit, or if you want to post it on social media, that's good too, as critiques. And that brings me to the next point is, make sure you join as many groups on Facebook that is geared toward artists, either like in fandom, either how to draw comics, how to draw figures, anything that's going to help you along the way and get critiques, because even if you get a critique, it's still beneficial for you. Just like take that into consideration and just try to like better yourself. Instagram is always good. I know Instagram and Facebook have really weird algorithm, as well as YouTube, where it's hard to get noticed. As long as you have some sort of following and post consistently, make sure you have hashtags here and there, and then you still get some sort of audience here and there, and that's always good.
It's also like if you happen to live, like cohabitate with other people, whether you're living with your family, your partner, or just roommates, ask them for prompts, because especially if they're not artistic people, just be like, pick something in the room and tell me to like turn it into something. So then, for all you know, your roommate picks up like a plush dog and is like, turn this into some kind of like mythical beast or something, and now you have to use your brain. And actually, I want to return to your point about fan art for a minute, because not only is that really good in terms of kind of getting you to draw something that you already know you enjoy and giving you topics, I guess, to choose from each day, but I've heard a ton of people online in the art communities across social media say that fan art is actually what helped them find their personal style. They would do like, say Steven Universe, then they do something from Disney, then they do something that's anime, and then they'd try fusing stuff together to make their own rendition of that character, and before they knew it, they found their style.
And yeah, I'll make an example. For me, when I was searching for my style, it took a long time for me to figure out like what I wanted to do. I liked manga, anime, I loved 80s and 90s animation, and it was really kind of like a constant battle as to like how I wanted my characters to look. And that is also why I took so long with getting Fire Sphere up and running, because I started that in middle school, and when you're in middle school, your art is constantly changing. And not just then from when you're young to elementary school to middle school, high school, college, your art is always evolving, like no matter what.
I've even seen people that work for like Marvel and DC who are like adults who have been in the business for years saying like, I've changed my style up, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there is nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, and it's just nice to know that like for me personally, it took me a long time to have a mashup between those two genres. And my art, like I've had compliments from industry comic illustrators where they said that my art style looks like the artist for Gem and Holograms comics, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and that style is actually making a resurgence a lot.
And that was just the line art that they saw. And my shading and coloring is like a mix of painting but also vectorized colors. And I think that's more like really appealing, is really like eye-catching. The comics that we make are always in color and they just grab you. And I learned all that from fan art and drawing them constantly. And then even still, like when I have these moments of art block, I gravitate to fandom stuff that I normally always draw, or just go back to digital painting, something that I'm just constantly doing and love doing because it's always good to take breaks. Like don't go into this like you have to draw something every single day, but give yourself breaks every now and then, because that's really important, because you'll burn out. Because if you get burned out with your projects, and then that's going to be a pretty big negative to your project, because if you get burned out, you're not going to like the rest of it.
Well, and honestly, I think a lot of that burnout problem can be attributed to social media algorithms now. We're living in an age where the only way you're going to grow a following quickly is by punching something out on almost a daily basis. If not a daily basis, then all but maybe 1 or 2 days a week. Some people can do that. Some people work really well under that kind of pressure, but for a majority of people, that's gonna just suck the fun out of them. I've seen so many YouTubers and stuff last year saying that they were ready to quit and stuff because it's just getting so hard to try to get content churned out that often. The same thing happens with the algorithm in DeviantArt, in Instagram, in Facebook, in Reddit, everything. Every social media algorithm, like, it's great to a point. It's nice that we can kind of just sustain ourselves and market ourselves now and not worry about like agents and stuff unless we absolutely want them. But at the same time, it really sucks that a lot of people are kind of falling out of love with something that's been so important to them for so long, because the algorithm just does not work in their favor. So I know that it's appealing to want to grow really fast and be like your favorite artist who has like 525k subscribers or something on YouTube, but also remember that taking a break is just as important as working hard. That's something that I've actually learned a lot from my Chinese and Japanese friends, that taking a break is a very efficient use of your time. So if you want to be able to draw something a little more often in quarantine, but you also don't want to worry about burnout, then maybe do 3 times a week and start there. And when that feels a little better, try 5 times a week, but don't go any further than that. I think it's important to at least take 2 days off, because I mean, after all, that's what we do for a normal 9-to-5 job. Most people have 2 days off a week. That's just how it is, so that you can take that break and not destroy yourself working nonstop. And something else that I was thinking of, this is kind of going back a minute, but still kind of on track with the whole fan art idea, which is, if you are still really having a hard time after all those tips with coming up with something to do, you have old art of yours somewhere in your house, whether it's in your computer, on social media, in a sketchbook, somewhere on, you've got old pictures that you enjoy, but that could use tweaking or something. So do some redraws of your own stuff. Maybe add more background this time, or try drawing it the exact same picture, but in a completely different style than it was originally in.
You also take breaks to eat food and hydrate.
Yeah, don't do what we often do. Do as we say, not as we do, because we're constantly like, it's like 9 p.m. Oh crap, we haven't eaten anything today.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It's not good.
Also, if you are having problems coming up with drawing, maybe take a few minutes to listen to music or watch a show that maybe can inspire you of the same genre you're working on, or just something that you know that you always gravitate to, because anything that helps your mind want to like learn is always good. Like for Biosphere, for instance, we always like watching Egyptian stuff on Discovery Channel or History Channel or wherever, National Geographic. We also like watching other mythology type stories like Hercules, anything that can kind of like inspire you, and like what is it about that show that so many people liked. And also just know that those people had to come from somewhere too. And everything that you watch nowadays, everybody like started out somewhere, and you can be that person too if you keep practicing and practicing.
Yeah, I also just remembered obviously there is structure in college art classes, but my instructor when I was in college also wanted us to have some level of freedom. Like, he'd teach you the basics of, making sure something looked like anatomically correct or something, but then he was like, hey, if you have a style, cool. And he would have these little like free draw type points where for maybe 2 weeks you were free to just create whatever you wanted to create. But a lot of people would be like, now that I've been given that freedom, I don't know what to do. And a piece of advice he always gave, which made all of the students he gave it to crazy, but it worked, was he said, go outside. And they'd be like, what? And he'd be like, get your canvas or whatever, get one of your easels, and just go outside and draw something, because outside is everything you need to learn to draw. He'd be like, you only draw people, go draw me a tree. Go draw, there was like a muskrat that would hang out, and the guy was like, go draw the muskrat, go draw the geese, something's out there for you to draw. And although it's great that, again, we live in the era of the internet and we have countless photo references available to us, it's very important to get a sense of that 3D structure. So go outside whenever you can and try to draw something from realism.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I've got, though. I think I tapped out my advice.
For right now, I mean, we'll also have more of these topics, and we'll discuss them again in upcoming ones if people want to know more tips. But this is just something to get people on board, because I know 2020 was really hard for people, and 2021 is going to probably be the same. And I don't want people to be discouraged with their projects or hobbies, and your work will get there as long as you keep working at it.
Also, just remembering as a quick end of video side note that social media following is great. It isn't everything though. Like, our social media numbers look quite low if that's all you see, but we have people follow us to other states to attend conventions we're at. We've had people drive 3 hours out of the way just to come to our table because they found out we were going to a convention. Mm-hmm. Sometimes numbers aren't everything.
Mm-mm. And it's slow going. And as long as you keep doing the big, easy marketing tips of hashtags, groups, using Google advertisements, anything you'll have to use money for to get your work out there, but eventually it's going to take off somewhere.
But yeah, I hope that this video helped people out. Give yourself a break here and there. The year was hard on everyone. Hopefully we gave you some tips and ideas on what you can work on moving forward. And if you are still struggling, if you need someone to deliver you prompts or something, by all means go on our Facebook page and ask us. We'll happily throw stuff out for you. And other than that, just remember to subscribe if you liked this video. We're going to be doing our best to get 4 to 5 videos out per week. So there's going to be a lot more of these to come. So thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, thank you, everyone. will want to know how to Make